everybody, welcome back to the stream. As you can see, I've been joined by any number of people, some of which you probably know who are already. 3. Dodger.
Hi, I'm Dodger, and really jazzed to talk about the games.
The games. Yeah. And one, Mr. Seth Hendricks.
Have you ever, if you search your name, I bet there are other Seth.
I have, but I'm the only one, I think, that doesn't play baseball for some high school. Oh. That's the only thing I find out when I search other Seth Hendricks.
That's really weird. But most importantly, we're here with Scott from Crystal Dynamics.
Woo! Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Claps and applause are appropriate. And we are here to talk about Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, this is a sequel. Like, I mean, jump right into it. Like,
sure.
What are we seeing here? What have you brought for us?
So, Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, 2010, one of those top digital downloads that was kind of our reintroduction of Lara Croft as a franchise, right? Something Crystal had taken on. It was kind of that turning point for Crystal, saying we want to get back out there and reintroduce Lara Croft to people and say, this is a great Lara Croft game. This is that kind of isometric action arcade experience. So that was 4 years ago. Then, as a studio, we got distracted with Tomb Raider, right? Our rebate for 2013, so getting that rebooted. And then earlier this year, we had Definitive Edition, and now it's like, this is time to go back. The fans have been asking us for a sequel to Guardian, saying we want more. We want more of that arcade action, more of that co-op. So for us, we said we have to come back, but in a big way. We wanted to come back with something that said next gen, that said how do we push ourselves further from 2-player now to 4-player, and go back to one of those fan favorite locations of ancient Egypt. So for us, it was getting all that pulled together. And being able to announce it yesterday was a great surprise for everybody, so we really enjoyed that.
That's well, I mean, so it is kind of interesting going from next gen for an isometric like action thing. How do you take advantage of that? Because some of us aren't as versed in game design or what that would mean or what kind of possibilities that could mean for the sequel.
Sure, I mean, even some of the stuff that we can show that we actually have some footage I think you guys get to see, some behind closed demos we're showing. Being able to get 4-player on one screen at high def, at 1080p, being able to get that level of fidelity, when you start seeing the characters that are not only in our cinematics, they're the same characters you get to play with. So we can kind of break that wall, bring the camera in for close-ups, be able to see just the level of detail, the stuff we can put in there, the atmospherics, like the effects we can put on to next gen as well, and then the lighting. A couple of things we have turned on, a lot of dynamic lighting, so Lara, like you'd seen back in Tomb Raider for 2013, now has her own torch so she can walk around the tombs, all dynamically lit up. So it's one of those just cool little details that you can put in there that actually becomes a gameplay element as well, that actually affects how you can play the game.
Well, why don't we take a look at some of the gameplay, and why don't you lead us through it and
happy to do it.
See what's going on with that. So why don't we cut to a big full screen of Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris.
So the actual adventure itself, right, based on the myth of Osiris, right, this god king who unified Egypt in the ancient days, who actually has his brother Seth, who's kind of the bad guy.
She's right
his
behind
brother
us.
Usurped him, murdered him, and then ripped Osiris apart, spread his body parts all throughout Egypt. This is this classic Egyptian mythology, kind of a blood feud between brothers, if you will. Lara, being the classic archaeologist, is looking for her way into that mythology, but she discovers this pyramid, this temple that has been hidden for thousands of years, and be able to get into it and say, okay, let's go discover this myth, let's go seek the truth, what happened here, what the history was. So what we're looking at is actually this very first area of her and her partner / competitor, Carter Bell, who's a new piece of fan fiction, new hair that we're putting in there. And then Isis, who's actually Osiris's wife, one of the gods, and then Horus, who's actually the son of the god Osiris. So basically 4 different characters, 2 Egyptians, 2 archaeologists, thrown together into this kind of partnership by force, where Lara and Carter are cursed, Isis and Horus have been trapped in here, and when they get together, they now have to all work together to recover all the pieces of Osiris.
But you mentioned fan fiction, so is that really fan input? They're like, Lara needs to be in love, and we need a character.
We never said in love. No, the idea that looking at the fans, they keep telling us, what else are we going to do? How are we going to add something? We had some great requests from people saying, let's go back to Egypt. How do we put more characters in there that feel like they're not just these mythical creatures all the time, but something real and grounded that we can add to the fiction? Yeah. So for us, getting another playable character, so you can have that option to go in there as Lara, and then you can see what's it like to be another human in her world. It's kind of like that Belloc to Indiana Jones, right? That little bit of a competitor, but is also very well trained as an archaeologist, so you have those two.
They both appreciate all the same things and what they're experiencing.
And also both smashing thousands-year-old pottery to get gemstones.
Right,
it's just the way you do archaeology in an arcade game. And we're okay with that.
Can you tell us anything about how it plays out in the game?
No.
Okay.
I could, but we're not going to.
It's a good question. Curious what happens.
But for us, just having these characters we can throw in there and say, look, this is something new for people to learn, something we can add to the canon overall for Lara Croft on that side. It's just, it's fun for us to be able to do that, and it's something that fans have been asking for, like how do we extend that universe?
So where does, if you're extending the universe, where does this exactly fit within canon?
Sure, yeah. So what you'll see actually right here is the two-player, starting off with Lara, who's actually has the red circle around here. Clearly it's Lara Croft game. She needs to be in there. And then Isis, who's the wife of Osiris, the goddess who actually has rescued or freed from her prison. And at least even this first area here, we're seeing them cooperate to solve this very first puzzle, which is actually a tutorial just to teach you how to shoot. Right? From an isometric angle, learning how to aim and fire. But we don't want our tutorials to be just flat two-screen images. We want them to be interactive. We want them to have some more gameplay elements tied to them. And all of the stuff that we even see in this footage here of the combat and the way the world works, fan favorite things like the grapple that she had, be able to make rope bridges, be able to swing and climb everywhere. Lara has those. You'll see Isis actually using a custom weapon for the Egyptian class, that actually is called the Staff of Osiris. It has that light beam coming out of her. So you actually have this energy weapon that you get to use. And then this type of area is perfect to show off the co-op nature of the game. The game actually will change depending on how many people are playing. If you have one person playing versus 2, 3, or 4, we actually change the rooms dynamically to accommodate 4 different characters, or 3 or 2.
That's super
So,
that's awesome.
So we had to do that, right? So you go back, get the story one way, but then you go back and actually play all the different little twinges that you can get with the different characters.
So like on that thing where he shot the grapple hook across, how would that be done? With spoiler, well, it's early in the thing, so you can tell us how it would be done.
This is very early in the game. So.
How would it be done if it was just one player?
Yeah, so for that one, you see the grapple ring is actually kind of lower. It's over a big spike pit, so Lara had to actually make the tightrope. Player 2 had to jump on the tightrope. And then, we call it drop-in, drop-out co-op, but you can also drop your friends in spike pits, right? It's one of those things you can pull it all together. Say, if you want to play that way, so be it. So you actually make the rope bridge that one friend jumps across, and then once the friend's over there, you grapple to that friend, and then they can pull you up. If you're single player, we'd actually have that grapple hook in a different place. So you could actually do it on your own with more risk of more enemies kind of cutting you off in the pass. So it would actually change the geometry itself. So you'd actually have a different play space to go.
If there's more than one player in the game, can you still get across things by yourself, or does it require that you
No, there's actually some forced co-op. There's actually areas where you actually, like even right here, one of the other powers the Egyptians have is that shield, that kind of brightly lit energy force that are around them. It comes from the staff. They can actually block those incoming kind of arrow launchers, and they can actually protect you as the other players who don't have a shield. But in single player, you have to figure out how to get around that yourself. You have to dodge, pull, spin. So it depends on these things you can figure out on the grapple hook. We'd actually change the geometry. So there are a couple areas that multiplayer only kind of stuff. So there's a few things that we want to force going in there as your buddies, again, online or couch play to play together.
What about like monsters? Would there be more monsters with more players or harder monsters?
Absolutely, yeah. We actually scale the difficulty depending on the number of players you have in there. So if you were to have 2 people in here right now, if you actually added people right now, it would dynamically jump in with extra enemies.
I know one of the things that drives me crazy about co-op sometimes is like when somebody's just being a douche and they just run ahead of you, or they're hanging behind, and you're like, come on, man, like I made it across this thing, slowing you down. And then it forces you to kind of jump ahead.
Yeah.
How does this game deal with?
Well, we have, because it's isometric, we get to kind of box you in a little bit, so we can actually control how far the camera zooms in or zooms out, so we can keep people closer together. We can also, we call it griefing, but it's the idea that there is a little bit of that competition and competitive spirit of there's only so many gemstones in the world, there's only so much loot, so you get used to kind of pushing people around with your bombs. So it's not friendly fire necessarily, but you can use an explosive, the bomb device, to actually motivate your friends, shall we say, to move them along.
That's a good word, yeah.
Or eventually cause enough damage that they can't move anywhere because they'll be dead, and you just run on, and then they'll respawn wherever you are.
Okay.
So there are ways to take care of those players if you want to. And then things like this, rolly balls, you see these things rolling around, we call them rolly balls, but basically these large spherical objects that are in the world, classic from Guardian. We have these large metal ones you could go and you could hide, and you could use them to trigger traps or puzzles. We actually have added things like this one, again, talking about next gen, which are dynamically lit. So they actually have a kind of piece of the sun inside of them.
Cool, yeah.
It's got a great lighting effect. You can see people with a little skill shot there using explosives to launch the balls across gaps. And these guys are working together. You can even split up in pairs. So you actually have 2 guys off to do one thing and 2 guys off to do another thing. So we have different situations, moments like this where you've actually unlocked this big bridge coming across. That's your first weapon in the game. We get to actually upgrade, and then later on, we have 4 people chaos. Now they've actually been powered up. Right? One of the things that's big for us, also pushing further from Guardian, saying on the Temple of Osiris side, we want to let you be able to customize your character, being able to get these rings and amulets. Rings are for your own personal upgrades, better power, better defense, better weapons. But then amulets are these things you can charge up that are team-based. And everybody can have a different one. You can have one for health regen. I could have one for ammo regen. You could have one for fire. So you actually have this ability to really custom tune your team. We see all these guys now are shooting fire-based weapons because they've been powered up, and they all have an amulet where they can share that kind of power together.
Do the different characters have things that really set them apart from the other characters? You know, like special skills or special weapons that they can wield?
Yeah, they do actually. For sure, when you have multiplayer like this, the Egyptians are basically one class and the archaeologists are the other. Okay. So the archaeologists have a flame device, be it a flare or a torch, where they can go and light these braziers. They can actually use that to light up different areas. Some of the game gets pretty dark, so you have to actually use them as part of the mechanic. And they also have a grapple hook. So they're the ones who can make rope bridges, or they can grab onto things to swing or to climb. Whereas the Egyptian characters are more on the magic side. So they have the staff of Osiris, where they can actually use the light beam. So they can actually use the staff as well to affect anything that has glyphs of Osiris, these kind of markings, ancient Egyptian markings on them. But when they use that, while it might raise a platform or raise a bridge, or it might actually slow down a moving gear, they can't fire. So now you have that, again, that kind of asymmetry between the Egyptian class and the archaeologist class.
Can you choose which one you want to be if you're single player? Do you have to play as Lara?
It's Lara Croft's game, so we have it made as Lara Croft's Adventure. Would you like that option to play through as an ISIS only or a
I don't know.
only?
I haven't played as an Egyptian in this game, so maybe.
You never know, right? Fulfill a fantasy
got against Lara Croft?
It could be New Game Plus, right?
That's right.
Like if you play again, then.
As you see, we listen to our fans, so clearly get that voice going. So, and then things like this is straight out of ancient Egyptian mythology from this myth. Actually, Ammit is actually this guard of the dead. She's actually this crocodile meets lion meets hippopotamus, bizarre creature, and she's brutal. So she'll just chase you down as long as you have this mark of death on your hand. This mark that you have to carry with you and finally get lifted at the end of the game if you can survive it. She's going to hunt you down every time you're inside of a tomb. So you have these types of 4 players running out. And so this, you see the chaos erupting around you. You see power-ups on the way. You see guys shooting at you. But you can also brief your buddies, like right there. Yeah. You know, Lara dropped the red bomb, stopped the green player, who now got killed. So you can start seeing that, again, that challenge of who gets the high score, right? Who gets all the gems and who gets the rarest loot. And that there is, custom loot that you can find that only one person can pick up at a time.
This is cool because for me, it's forcing you you can't really take a lot of time here. Obviously, you got to react very quickly, run through, but all these different things are happening to you that you have to pay attention to. So.
And even this at the end, where now you need a buddy, right? You need somebody to help you get up there. Well, one person can grapple up, the other one can use their shield. And so this is one of those options of like, come on, you can let me do the loot. You've got a little bit of that competitive spirit, but still it's a cooperation.
Screaming at people in the room like, come on!
Exactly. And then, when we lost 2 of them.
So if one person makes it through, they ultimately all make it through, but the people who fell in and got ate by the crocodile didn't make it through with as many points.
They can lose gems, they can lose points, they don't get access to some loot or some treasure. So yeah, there's definitely that. Plus, you don't want to lose to your friends, right?
I know,
you want to come in first all the time.
Because my friends are all slow and dumb, so if I lose to them, that means I'm slower and dumber than the slow and dumb kids.
Wow,
so.
all right, well.
I'm your friend.
Well, hey, that was pretty smart.
Oh, okay. That's weird. I may now feel weird.
There you go.
Now it's uncomfortable here.
Yeah.
And then things like this. I mean, one of the fun things about Lara Croft versus the Tomb Raider side, right? Tomb Raider, great reboot. Awesome back to the origin tale of who Lara is, the gritty realism. But we have giant scarabs in Lara Croft, right? You get to fight these skyscraper-sized bosses and deal with them. That's something you can do in an arcade game.
Is there a skill tree? Are you leveling up like along the way?
We use all the gear, so the amulets, the rings, and the weaponry. Those are the things you get to customize and choose how you outfit your character. So that is our skill tree for this.
Yeah, that's cool.
It is really cool. I like it a lot.
Thanks.
So, when are we going to be able to play that? Like, how much? When do I give you money? Where can I give you money?
I will take your money any day.
Like,
I can take it right now.
As long as you give me a game.
I will take a pre-order from everybody. Okay. We do that today.
But where's all that stuff? Where can people
pricing and date haven't been announced. We just say coming soon at the moment. So it's still early days in the E3 week here. So we haven't announced anything on that front yet. But we have announced for platforms, for Xbox One, PS4, and for PC.
Oh, great.
So we have definitely done that, but no date or pricing yet.
No date yet. Well, okay. Well, I'm fine with that, though. It sounds like we may get a date by the end of the week. So
I didn't say that.
That's what he said, exclusive. No, he didn't say that.
No pressure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just antsy. Well, Scott, thank you so much for showing us.
Thank you guys so much for making the time.
Thanks a lot.
It's been great.
Lara Croft and the Tomb of Osiris.
Temple of Osiris.
Temple of Osiris. I keep on saying,
oh
man, I'm just thinking about handing money over all the time.
He may
Temple
end
of
up in a tomb at
Osiris.
the end.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming through. Thank you for tuning into the stream. We'll be back real soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.